Hey everybody, welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Emily Poulin, and with us for the very first time, creative director from Los Angeles, Jordan Andrews, is joining us to show us how he makes stage visuals and brings things to life in After Effects. So I just want to say hi to chat real fast. If you're here hanging out with us, we're so glad that you're here. If you want to drop any comments, questions for Jordan in the chat, I will keep an eye on you and add those to the conversation. And then we haven't prompted in a while, but if you haven't subscribed yet to Adobe Live, we would love for you to do so. So find that subscribe button if it's not already highlighted for you and make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of our content. But Jordan, so glad that you're here with us today. Do you want to talk us a little bit about your portfolio and what you do creatively?
Yeah, thank you for having me. First off, this has been a big dream. I've been using Adobe now for about 20 years, ever since I was in like high school. So this is a big moment. I wouldn't have the career I have today without using all these programs. So I'll give you guys a bit of context for me. I come from a background of music and design as well. So started originally as a music producer, making singles for artists under Universal, under Sony as well. And then I started to really dive into the aspect of design and like what branding looks like. And this is something that was important to me because I started this really young, but didn't know how to take it professionally, right?
Mhm.
And after getting into the music and understanding, this is how you kind of work with artists, this is how the production world is as a producer. I was like, listen, I know that I can take this to the next level and make it 1,000% instead of 100. So looked at it as an opportunity for me to learn these new skills where I was like, hey, how does it look when you end up branding an artist or branding the company itself? And from there, I ended up working with a few different artists, one being Selena Gomez on her revival tour. I was the lead creative when it came to the animation, the After Effects as well. And then I also dove into doing a bit of branding for Khloe Kardashian, which was huge for one of her brands. And that's where I got the juice from that. I was like, oh, I can take this and go wherever. I'm like, what are the odds I had the chance to do this? And it was my first big break. And this was prior to me being at Universal, but that's what gave me that push and definitely helped me land this contract that I had at the time. And then I ended up joining Universal Music, where I ended up working with pretty much every artist under that label, from Elton John, Post Malone, Lil Baby, you name it. It was a journey, definitely. And that's what helped push me into this new stratosphere now and understanding how to really scale a brand and an artist, but ultimately, how are you making money from this? So creating revenue generating campaigns, and ultimately, of course, how does that creative look and how does that translate? So this was a big aspect for me, 100%.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to see your workflow today and get a little bit of like the behind the scenes look at all the stuff that you do. So I believe we're going to start off in boards. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're gonna start off in boards.
Awesome.
There's actually a couple things too I'd rather go over first.
Okay.
I'm gonna use boards a bit more. We're gonna go into the typography, so variable type. There are a lot of new features, AI features as well in After Effects for this year, 2026. But I definitely want to dive into a little bit of my process when it comes to creating stage visuals for an artist. So I'll just walk you through. Right now, we're in After Effects, and typically what I'll do is, of course, number one thing is listen to the song. Then you kind of break things up into segments because, of course, like you have the intro, you have the verse, sometimes you have a pre-chorus, chorus. Other times too, you have a bridge. Not all of the songs might have a bridge, but this is also something to consider. And then, of course, an outro. But when it comes to visuals and the storytelling behind it, at the end of the day, you just got to keep it simple, to be honest. Like, keep it really simple. And there's sometimes you even see artists that post just quotes, and that's the shareable moment that you get when you're at that event or at that concert. So I'm just gonna play this quick. We'll run it back. I'll dive into it, and we're just gonna feel it out. We're gonna freestyle this today. Get a little juice, a little sauce.
All right,
So I'm
let's
gonna
do
play
it.
this beat right here. Yeah, I like this part a lot where it comes breaks down me. This is like the verse here. This juicy. So ultimately, when I'm creating these stage visuals for artists, I typically use After Effects as like my mood board, let's say. So I don't necessarily grab images like I would with design and put them into a mood board, figure out what direction I'm going to go into. I use this here as my canvas. And ultimately, you want to make sure that you have your composition set up properly. So let's just go check this.
I do want to
Composition
ask
settings.
quickly, would you be able to turn down next time we run through the sound, just turn it down a hair? I think it's coming through a little bit loud on the other end.
Okay, so let me bring this down a little bit like this.
Perfect. Thank you.
How's that? Let's test it quickly.
Let's see. Much better.
Is that a good level?
I think so. And chat,
Okay.
if you think it needs to be a little quieter, let us know.
Yes, please, 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 chat.
But we are getting a lot of love in the chat. Digitals by Jana said, been waiting all day for this stream. Star eye emoji. We got Ryan in the chat, Jacob Harris in the chat. Everyone's really excited
Love it.
about After Effects and what you're working on.
I love that, guys. Thank you so much for the support, 100%. Let's keep it rocking. Let's roll today. Let's go. So yeah, typically I'll use After Effects, my composition, as my mood board, right, to help build this out. And for me, I'm very much like hype reel, very powerful visuals. This is more of my style when it comes to video aspect of things. So there's also a very good animator, editor. His name's Gibson Hazard. That's an example of my style of how I edit a lot of these hype reels. So we're just gonna tap in on our composition quick. First off, right now we're just working in HD, 1920 by 1080. I personally always use 4K, but for this demo, I'm just going to show you guys in HD. This one here, big. You got to always make sure your frame rate's at 29.97. This is a given. You don't ever sway away from it. This is the standard everywhere in the world when it comes to events, venues, because what happens is when you put it to 24, your visuals might come up choppy. And what happens a lot of the time is the screens at these venues, the bit rate doesn't match. So it'll start to look laggy and like that. There's things missing while it's
Mm.
playing. So pop that on 29.97. And now we're gonna do a little freestyle, vibe it out and see if what we're rocking with. Okay. I'm just gonna add this little countdown just for fun. Just for fun. Let's do it.
Ooh, that's a cool typeface.
Yeah,
Or
sort
is
of
this just a
speedy.
graphic on its own?
This here is actually a typeface that was built out,
Okay.
and they're all individuals. So I
Okay.
actually have all of the different letters. So we can just even put a title after. I'm gonna just add like a little countdown just for fun. I never do this typically when it comes to stage visuals, but
But
let's just
today's the
have fun
day.
with it. Yeah,
Yeah, why
today's the
not?
day. We're gonna have fun today. You get me? Cool. So what I'm gonna do now is we're just gonna focus on building out this. It'll be our little intro. I'm going to have this fade. So it'll go 3, 2, 1, but we don't want to see the numbers on top of each other.
A little
So
confusing. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna go 100, pop this to 0, and then I'm big on keyframes and shortcuts. So we're seeing a little fade going on here. Let's pull this in a bit so we could see it. Little fade happening, but it's still not there yet. So what I'll do here is I'll click opacity and I'm gonna hit FN on Mac on the keyboard, which is the bottom left corner. And then I'm gonna hit F9. So what that does here is it changes the keyframe and it's gonna make it ease. So easing is like the process of creating a better flow. Instead of just being so abrupt, we're gonna make it more of a flow when it actually fades away.
It's a good
So
hotkey tip there. You said FN, F9?
FN and F9, you
All
got it.
right, take that to heart, chat, if you're listening.
Yeah, you gotta use it. Shortcuts will change your life because
Real.
when you end up going up here and trying to search it, you're gonna waste a lot of time. It's about being speedy and also having the ultimate precision when you're working on stuff like this. So Next thing too, big one, Command and 5 will bring up your window here, effects and presets. I use this every day, of course. And we'll just add like a little blur on this. And I add a little blur.
Are these like your top effects that you're always, I'm always reaching for blur, I'm always reaching for, XYZ?
Yeah, I'd say for me, the blur is a big one because it makes it look more real. So the way I look at
Hmm.
it is like when you have like a movie, for example, like you see all these effects and everything, all of them have blur, but we can't see it, right?
Hmm.
You don't have it so it's so sharp. So typically, if there's some movement, I'll use like a motion blur. But for this, let's go with a fast box blur real quick and test this out. And we're just gonna duplicate this. Boom. And then we'll start it at 0. And then as it comes out, we'll go ramp this up. So you can see there's an obvious blur happening. So we'll put this at 30. I'm big on numbers, huge on numbers. So I use 3 a lot, 6 a lot, and 9. I don't overthink it whatsoever. This is my system. And even when it comes to life, I use these numbers.
Are all your
Very,
passwords set to 369 or
they might be, they might be.
we don't know for sure. You're getting some love in the chat. Espada Magazine says Jordan is the GOAT, typeface is fire. And then they're also
Oh,
loving the metallic with the crimson background, all around good vibes.
I love that. I love that, guys. Thank you so much for real. So I'm gonna duplicate this now. I just added this in. We're gonna add it to our second, number 2, little fade. Boom. I'm also gonna copy the opacity on this and literally just copy it over onto the 2. Same thing, get a little fade. Now we're into 1. Cool. And then the 1 will just rock out and we'll switch the scene. Boom. Then we'll go
Nice.
to, we shall go into what this looks like now.
Oh, so we're not keeping the red background. Or is it staying?
We might switch it up. We just
Oh,
switch it up.
chat's gonna be upset. They were like, I like the color, but it's all right.
Oh,
We trust you. It's your
all right,
stream.
guys. Here, I'll keep the color. Look at this. There we go. There we go. The color's cool. Yeah, I was just like, you know what? I think it matches this vibe a bit for this track. So let's rock it out. Now we'll figure out the vibe. So for me, when it comes to the stage visuals, ultimately, I don't really think about it as this is going to be a shareable moment because of course it's going to be a shareable moment. People are at a concert, they're enjoying themselves, but ultimately it's more of like the energy inside of the visual there, if that makes sense. So if I'm going to look at this and I'm at an exhibition and I see this in a big screen, huge, how is this going to make me feel? Is this invoking emotions? Like I have to understand what I'm going to perceive this as. So this is how I think about a lot of the things. It might look cool, sure, but maybe it doesn't work for what you're actually building out.
We
So we're
do
gonna
have
throw this
one
in.
quick comment. I think the sound is still a little bit loud. Would you mind bringing it down just a hair?
Yeah, how's this right here? Can you hear me now? Test, test.
Well, you sound good. I think it's the playback on the track.
Oh, I understand. Okay, cool. Let's bring this down even more, guys.
I
Let's test
think,
this out quick.
and Jacob, you can let us know for sure.
How's that? Ooh, like this.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you.
Perfect. Of course. Thank you for letting me know. So next, let's say I have this cool little animation here with some
Ooh.
chains, looking a little fly. We can zhuzh it up a bit, give it a little sauce. So first off, we have the black background. So I'm gonna switch this up. And then you have your blending modes here, right? Typically, I use most of these. Really depends on what I'm looking to accomplish. But today, let's test it out. We'll go with screen, which is a big one, of course. And I'll go into the opacity and bring this down. Let's go to like 90. So it blends. It's not just sitting on top of the background. Blend it a bit. We can give it some effects if we need to. Once again, Command 5. We can even go to echo. Gives it a nice Look at that gloss. It
Oh,
looks
that's
like it's
cool.
shining, you know? Yeah, so let's see. So this is cool. This is a little cool thing going on. And in this case, I might just change my mind, to be honest. So building out these visuals, sometimes they take, who knows? Sometimes it could take a couple days. Sometimes you spend like a whole week, and then just really depends, especially if there's lyrics, which some of the time artists like lyrics on it. So you're pretty much building a condensed version of a lyric video, but not the whole thing, because no one's really reading that up on the screen, right? When you're performing. But typically, yeah, I'll add something like this. Maybe there's a bit of grain that we have we can throw in there. Let's just test it out. And then this here, so after this, we're gonna go into the chorus, or sorry, the verse here. Let me extend this here quick.
Are you a perfectionist when you're working? I feel like this is something you could really get so invested in and be like, wow, I just spent, 10 hours on 20 seconds of
It
sound.
honestly depends, because
Yeah,
sometimes you just have to crank it out. Other
fair.
times you just spend your time on building something that's special. But at the end of the day, in the moment when you see people enjoying themselves and like you see the comments online after about the performance, like this all makes a difference, a huge difference. Because if you're watching a performance of your favorite artist and they didn't put time into the stage visuals, the identity, it really shows, and you don't
I
want that.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
So I
Can
just
you,
added a quick little texture on top, if you can see here. We got a little texture going, color grain. I put a hard light blending mode on it so we can see that there. And then I'll also even extend it over here so that it lays on top of the intro as well.
whoa, that was cool.
So yeah, I'd have something like this, just quick example, but typically what I'd like to do is, of course, you have a different set of visuals for the intro, verse, and then of course the chorus. That's where you really pump it up. So you have to match the energy of the song ultimately. We have a few others. Let's test out some of these other little backgrounds that we have here for this song. This one here has a cool little wave. We have our texture going on here. Switch this up a little bit. Let's test it out and see how it looks if we put a different blending mode and some other effects on it. So you see how we add these together. Another thing that I do with other visuals is create a displacement map. So I'm gonna show you guys here what this does, which is pretty fly. I don't even need to have this visual here, which is wave, on, but we'll still be able to see it because I'm gonna add a displacement map to the lower layer here. And typically you wanna work with the vertical displacement. I'm gonna change it to red. I'm gonna show you here. You see how it's kind of like, it's almost like it's melting.
Yeah.
Wrap around, you want to wrap pixels around so that it actually wraps around the imagery properly. And then you want to choose from here, displacement map layer, which video you want to layer on top of another video. So I'm gonna choose the, let's go color, let's go the wave, and just have a little fun with it. I just want to give you guys an example. You see that? It's just like almost like it's
Whoa.
melting, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
So right here now, when you click on this, this is gonna get you into the keyframe itself. So we're gonna just do a little bit of keyframing, just to walk you guys through what that looks like. And keep in mind, like After Effects is used for all of these big movies, visual effects. So you can literally think of something and you can make it in this program. Like, so I'm just gonna get this to like kind of melt and bend, almost like if you were in space and you got sucked into a black hole. Once again, I'm gonna click here, FN. We're gonna go F9. We're gonna do easy ease. Another big thing to keep in mind anything After Effects, not even just stage visuals, is your keyframe interpolation. So you right click on the keyframes. Right now it's at Bezier, which is definitely not my favorite. And I'll give you context as to what this is. With Bezier, it's almost a continuous flow. So let's say you have something that's already moving and fluid in the visual. You want it to be linear because you don't want it to be Bezier. With Bezier, what's going to happen is it might, let's say you wanted to shrink it, it might shrink, but you'll see in between that it gets bigger first before it shrinks. And
Oh,
we don't want that. Sometimes
yeah.
we want it to just shrink completely. So just give you guys a quick little example here. And then we're also going to dive into a few other things today, being the variable type fonts. We have some new features from Adobe that are going to be huge, especially for this year coming up. Some of the sickest stuff I've seen in a while. But just to give you guys an example, you see that how the other video is still playing, but it's meshed now with this chain video here. And then we would dive right into the chorus after. So this is just a little quick context on how I'd start to build something out. I'd see what other visuals fit. You know, we got our wave going on. We can pop something like this on. But ultimately, you want to keep things simple. You don't want to take away from the artist and what they're performing during that moment, unless it's something the artist actually wants, which in most cases, you don't want to take away from that. So just keep it simple, keep it impactful. And then also when you're diving into like the chorus of a song, pop on some of those visuals, get like the text, get the backgrounds going, get some lyrics from the song, help boost the performance and what people are feeling while they're going through it. So, Emily, I'm going to dive into the fonts now.
Okay.
And if there's anything else, anyone in the chat has any questions or wants to see anything, let's run through it. Let's go through it.
Yeah, we do actually have one question from Cameron. They're asking, would you say that most of the time it's experimentation, or are there times when you know exactly what you want to make and how you want to do it?
That's a great question. So all of the time, I know what I want to make and how I'll do it. Then you have to work with the artist, right? So I'd say with bigger artists, some of them are completely involved and they want to be part of the process, right? But other artists completely hands off. They're like, listen, I know exactly what I'd like. Here's an idea, just run with it. And I'll just go with it. I'll just get in the element. I'll stay up till 6 a.m. in the morning. I swear to you. So this is the best part too. Okay, if you want to unlock your ultimate creativity, everyone's different, okay? But I'm gonna give you guys the secret sauce. I'm telling you, stay up late, even if it's one night and you're not used to doing it, stay up late. I promise you, just thug it out, pull an all-nighter, go to bed at like 6 a.m. When you reach that level of fatigue, because we all do, some early, some people go to sleep 10 p.m., completely normal. But let's say it's 2, 3 a.m. in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm gonna pass out. I'm gonna go to sleep. Don't do it. I promise you, take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, get back to it. And once you push past that fatigue, you're going to unlock a different level of creativity that you would never, ever get during the day. So once you get that, there's things that I think about that I never would have accomplished unless I stayed up and pushed into this new element of creativity. So, especially if you're creative, sometimes people are more productive at nighttime, completely normal. But that's what I'd say. The sauce, push past the fatigue, man.
Chat agrees with you. They're like, yeah, flow state hits around 4 a.m. So
Hell
I think you're onto
yeah.
something.
Gotta get get into that flow state. Another thing too with flow state, I'll tell you, is keep keep the speed. It's okay to take a step back for a second, recharge. But once you have that flow and you got the speed going, just keep rocking with it. I promise you, it's all worth it. So I'd use something like this. Here, this is more of a transition. This is like a CRT film style transition. So something like this, I wouldn't ever just have it running on the screen. I would use it as a quick transition, 1 to 2 seconds, maybe even 1 second, and it would transition into either the verse, most likely. But I'll just give you an example here. I kind of like this. It's looking a little fly, Got a little countdown going. We got some ninja stars here. Wouldn't typically use this, but it's cool. It's a cool little
I feel
vibe.
like it
So
matches the metal vibe you've been showing.
yeah,
Works.
it does. 100%. So I'll just show you guys a little quick something one more time, and then we're gonna dive into the variable type and show some of the new features that After Effects has. Um, and then in a separate video, I'm actually gonna build out a demo of this beat, and I'm actually gonna publish it. So you guys
Oh,
will be able
cool.
to see what I come up with when it comes to it having this song as an actual performance on stage.
Are you gonna
Thousands of
publish?
people, you know?
That's exciting. Oh yeah, will you be
Yeah.
sharing it on like your like website, social media? Where could we direct people to keep an eye out for that?
You got it. So yeah, I'm gonna share this on my Instagram. I'll share it on my TikTok. I also have my YouTube right now. I
Nice.
started before. You guys wouldn't believe it. It's more than a movie.
Dang,
But
stay
look where we
tuned.
at now. It's gonna be amazing. So I'm gonna share that story, and then
That's
that
awesome.
way have a better understanding of the journey, how I started really diving into After Effects. My first time really getting into this, I was doing a lot of photography, and I went to school for design as well, by the way. Started doing a lot of photography, and I was like, listen, like I need to figure out how to make these images move. And this didn't really exist at the time. So I started animating all the photos and album covers in After Effects from scratch using this tool here. I'll just show you guys quick because it's a very important tool. A lot of people will miss it. The puppet tool up here. Hit that. You want to double click on your layer a lot of the time, and you can create different points, right? So I'm just gonna add these points here. Boom, boom, boom. And then they're actually gonna pop up down here, which is mesh one. If you were to do it again, you'd see mesh two pop up. So just keep that in mind. Now I have all my puppet pins. I'm going to click them, and now I also have all my keyframes. So if you see here on my timeline, they added all my keyframes. So I'll scroll over a little bit, and then let's say I wanted to change this. I'm gonna hit V so that I can pull up this regular mouse again. And I can just bend it. I could do
Whoa.
literally whatever. And then look, oof, just creating visuals out of thin air. You could figure it out, try something new, do something fun. But now we're gonna dive into the variable type. And we're gonna test out some of the new tools and AI features that Adobe has. So I'm going to walk you guys through this quick. First thing is, usually I'll start with a mood board. So I know Emily, you mentioned earlier that I use mood boards, and typically I use the mood boards for design projects or if I need to just go through ideas and the motion of things, right? So right now we're in Firefly Boards. You guys definitely got to use this. It's huge. Best way to just throw all your ideas in and see them all in one spot. So now what I'll do is jump in, Stage Visuals, Variable Fonts. Let's go into our assets and mood board. I'm just gonna select all of these and throw them right in there. We could see everything at a high level. So for this example with the variable type, I was looking at some Nike stuff. I love Nike. I used to work for Nike for years, and this brand does an amazing job at telling the story of athletes. At the end of the day, these are people, and they do an amazing job at sharing and curating what that looks like. But ultimately, as we know, they empower people. So this is what I very much love about this brand, not just when it comes to athletes, but their overall messaging. So I chose this as my mood board for the variable fonts, and we're gonna just dive in, have a little bit of fun with it. We have Nike, this Chrome right here. I really like it. I do like this font. Wouldn't use it typically all the time. This one right here looks great. It's great for animation. Looks like, a nice little stretch there. And then This is an awesome mood board here. We are never done. What I love about this one is the details. Boom. How this we is completely different. 50th anniversary, pop the 50 on with the logo, has the storytelling there. So this is very important. Focus on the details, be meticulous, make sure you're getting everything across and that you're conveying this story the best that you can, because there's no room for anything less than greatness. So let's keep focusing on that 100%. I'm
For
gonna
people
open this
who
up now.
for people who don't
Boom.
know what a variable font is, could you define that for them?
Yeah, I would say a variable font is a font that's gonna have, I'll just actually show an example quick here. So I have some funny quotes on these, but a variable font will have more dynamic range, let's say. So there's more options to actually adjust the font, animate the font, and have more of a fluid animation to it, opposed to just having, there's a typical scale. I'll show you guys in the transform here. So we have anchor, we have our scale, we have rotation. The variable font will have a lot more dynamic to it. So another aspect of things is what you want to do before anything, you want to go find variable fonts on the Adobe site. So we're going to go over here. We are now on the Adobe font site and we're going to search for some. I already pulled a few up, so I'll just give you guys a few examples, but this is what I mean when it comes to the dynamic range of this font. Because typically, of course, you have your text size, et cetera, et cetera. I found this here, thermal, we have weight. So let's just play around with it. As you can see, there's a bit of animation going on here. And then there's also optical size. So let's tap in on this one. This one here, as you can see, it kind of like, let's see, we can zoom in just a little bit. We get a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of a stretch. We have another one here, super score. This one here is pretty dope. It reminded me of like a scoreboard.
100%.
Yeah. So as you can see
Oh,
here,
wow. I feel like
yeah.
I haven't seen a dot typeface that's variable like that.
I know, right?
That makes
Yeah.
me a
So
little
that's why.
stressed to think about because I feel like, right, so variable types have a lot of active coding behind them versus just like a set character. And so to see something
Mhm.
scale from 200 to 900 weight, that's pretty wild.
That's another thing too, is with After Effects, there's so much that goes into it, especially with what you mentioned, the coding. And another thing people don't realize is that After Effects has a lot of options when it comes to coding, adding in prompts, codes that will actually create these styles of animations without you keyframing it and adjusting everything. So this is another one I found that was really cool.
That's super
Flux,
cool.
as you
And
can see.
yeah, if you guys have an Adobe account, this is available to you. So go grab it, Superscore Variable on fonts.adobe.com.
You got it. This is another one here,
That's
playing
fun.
with the weight. So go grab these fonts. You got to make sure when you go to Adobe Fonts here, let's go browse all. And then right here on the left, you're actually going to see variable fonts. So you want to make sure you hit this because many of the fonts might just be a normal font. So now we hit that, we have tons of options to go through it. And I would recommend if you're doing something new and fresh, use the variable font, test it out. Even if you're just making ads for your brand or for another brand that you're working with, just, I'm telling you, it'll make all the difference. So let's tap into this. Just a little, I really liked this style of gradient. So we're gonna play around with it. We'll add a few quotes and then you guys can actually see what it means to use the variable font inside of After Effects. So I have my prompt here. I also threw in a couple logos and I'm gonna hit this here, final. We're gonna dive into it. This section here is your resolution. So this is gonna be your playback resolution as well as the resolution when it's paused, okay? So typically I'll work in third, sometimes even a quarter, because some of the files that I have, I'm working with files that are about 5 gigs for one project. So the playback, sometimes it needs to render a little bit. You're working in 4K, totally normal. Just give it a little time to breathe. As you can see, it's loading here on the timeline. So we'll put it in full for today. And now I'll dive into the composition. Let's find what this big text is, where it's at. So that's one there. NM1. This is it. Boom. Now we have our gradient. So I'm actually just gonna play it quick so you guys can see. We have our gradient, having a little fun. Look at that. Juicy.
Whoa.
Uh-huh.
Wait, that's so cool.
Very fly, very fly. So can have fun with it. Switch up the colors. We'll switch up the colors, have a little fun. Gradient all. I'll show you guys quickly what that looks like. So this is the gradient that's overlaying and blending with the actual text. So this one here has a lot of effects. You go up to layer, you're gonna go to new, you're gonna create a solid. Boom. You have your solid here, right? I'm gonna solo this out. And then big thing now is we're in the white solid. We're gonna go to our effects panel here, usually on the left side, depending on how you have yours structured. So a lot of people use default, but if you go to workspace, go to window, hit workspace, you're gonna see how there's all these different panels and ways to operate After Effects. So some people use essential graphics, others use animation. I just keep it standard, keep things simple, never complicate it. So now when you come to the white solid, you can do this with any shape whatsoever. We have a gradient ramp, colorama, turbulent displace, and a fast box blur. So as I mentioned before too, blurs are always there, even when we can't really tell. I'll just take it off just so we can see the difference. As you can see, there's a nice blend there happening. This one here, turbulent displace, is what gives it that wave of emotion, nice
Right.
motion. And then we also have colorama, which is where our color is coming from, of course.
Oh, what?
This is,
It's black and white to begin with?
yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
So right here too, it's like all you gotta do is put a gradient ramp. So we have it black and white here, and then we have our white at the top. Let's go click this. You can actually move where the white will start. So you can figure out where you want to position it. Boom, we just move the white over here. And then let's do the same with the black and just see what it looks like. We'll have the black, something like this, okay? Like a 30-degree angle or cool. We'll pop our colorama on. Now we can switch it up. This is one of my favorite effects in After Effects, especially when it comes to changing the whole environment and making something a certain colorway. So you want to go to colorama, hit output cycle, and then from there you can actually hit none, which is right beside use preset palette. From there you can choose any of the presets that they have here. Some of them don't really use, but I like to start with typically, something like this. Like we have a full green, and then I can just switch it up if I want to. You add another color here, boom. Let's go with like purple. There we go. So
Ooh.
we have something like that.
Whoa. It's like I'm being
So
hypnotized.
I know, right? I'm like,
It's
oh my God,
cool.
I might just go to sleep.
But not till
Okay.
5 a.m., so stay awake.
Yeah, 6 a.m., 6 a.m.
Sorry, my bad.
No,
7 a.m.
no,
Let's go
no,
all night.
let's just keep going. But
Also,
yeah,
Nate Martin jumped in the chat saying Jordan is boss. You're getting a lot of fans in chat today.
Nate. Oh, that's my dog right there. Nate Martin, great energy. You guys got to tap in with this guy. He's amazing, amazing person to be around. Manages a lot of artists as well. So really, shout out to that guy, man. Shout out to him for real. So I just changed the colors up. Now we got a kind of like Hulk look. There's kind of like Marvel
It is
Hulk
Hulk.
look.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
Might just have
Halloween.
to throw him in there real quick.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. So right now I had it on full, but because we're trying to render it, I'm just gonna drop it down to third just so we
Sure.
can kind of watch it quickly. Messy. So how come we have to tidy our bedrooms? Cool. We'll switch this up. So just an example, I wanted to show you guys the colors. Now let's go into another composition. We have a few other different options here, right? Same style. So let me actually, of course, Command Z, that's gonna bring back our regular color because I just had that there. And I'm also going to go back to our original state. Well, composition two. Life is terribly great. Amazing. We're gonna click on this. We're gonna go into final. This is the one here. Yep. Another thing too, I want to know if you're using After Effects and you need to adjust something and you want to duplicate it. So let's say I have this shape in the background, right? This is my shape layer here. I'm gonna go right click, or I'll do on my keyboard, it's two fingers. So I'll click it. I'll go to reveal layer, source in project. Boom. Pops up where the composition is in the project. I'm gonna hit Command D now, and I have gradient all two. I'm gonna drag this down, or typically what I'll do is click on this, Command D, I'll hit Option, and I'll click on this. So hit Option, click on this, drag it, and it'll just replace it. Or you can
Wow.
just drag it from here. Up to you. That's just a shortcut that I use. It makes things a lot faster.
That's super helpful. I do want to give you a marker. You have about 10-ish minutes left, which is crazy. This flew by,
I
but
know,
just a little
perfect.
time marker for you.
No worries. So we're gonna show a little bit of the variable font animation, and then I'm gonna show you guys quick rotoscope, and we'll go into a quick Q&A, M. So we'll click on this. I'm gonna solo this out. Gradient, boom. This here. I'm gonna close up some of these comps. And then let's find, it's this one here. This here has our shapes. And now I'm actually just gonna use a logo instead. Another big thing I want to note is After Effects now allows you to drop in SVG files, which is something that wasn't there before. It's honestly changed the game for me big time. Because as we know, the vector files, highest quality, we need that. So instead of using like a PNG or JPEG or another file, start dropping in the SVG files instead, and it'll save you a lot, especially when it comes to quality. I'm gonna drop this logo in, bring it down. I'm gonna solo this out. Command 5. I'm gonna fill. I'm gonna make this white so that it matches properly the shape that we had here and we get the actual gradient. Hit title safe. I'm gonna hit the quotes. Let's see. Right here beside the enter button, hit the quotation button on the keyboard, and we're gonna center this over. I'm gonna hit Command R to bring up my ruler, make sure we're kind of centered. Obviously, this logo is a little off-centered, but we do not want to be in these areas here. This is the caution zone. You're out of the ring. Don't bother. Don't even go out here. Unless there's something you're doing and everything's good, the brand is on board, don't bother. Just keep it within this nice zone here. You know what I mean? Nice and centered. So let's go back now. Life is terribly great because isn't it? Life is terribly great. We're having fun. We're living, we're enjoying. So now I'm just gonna go into my variable font. I'm going to click on this here. And what you're going to see is there's actually a symbol now in this section for the text, right? You're going to click this here, variable font. It's going to show me the options that I have. So some of them, as we saw earlier, some of them have flux. We have weight here as well. And then we also have this button, which is huge. We can go add animator and we can choose whatever we want. But what we're going to do is click on variable font axes, and then click on weight. Now we have our weight here of our font. We're going to animate this a little bit. I'll hit the keyframe. Let me drop this down. I'm going to move my keyframe up 700 over here, and I'm going to make this 100. So as you can see now, our font is very skinny, and we have a little bit of a little stretch happening. Click here, F9 and FN together. Ooh,
That's cool.
a little
What would
bit of
this
an animation.
what would this workflow have looked like had you not been able to use the variable font, but you wanted to achieve the same effect? Would you have to do like two PNGs, like a thin version and like a thicker version and blend them together? Like what would that look like?
I would say to create something like this, specifically because this one here is like a thin font that gets
Right.
bold. I typically, what would I even do with that? I don't really do that, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of doing this for certain projects. For something like this, I like it, but typically what I would do is I'd figure out how to keyframe some type of stroke on the text.
Okay.
So maybe I'd start the text very thin or regular, so not a
Right.
bold, not a medium. I'd start it like that, and then as you can see, we kind of have like this little animation here. And then I would keyframe some sort of stroke around the text, so that way it can mimic this animation itself here.
Which is a definite workaround, but would make a type designer a little sad. So it is nice that you have, the variable font and able to achieve that in a cleaner,
Got it.
type friendly way.
Yeah. So I just want to play this back. I'll show you guys, but remember, go grab those variable fonts on Adobe Fonts. Make sure you install them, and then everything that you need is in this section here. You're gonna see that little button if you want to see what type of variable font it is and the options that you have, and then you just have fun with it. We could scale this out, boom. And then I just made it get small, so there we go. And then we have our Nike in the background with our gradient ramp doing a little animation there.
A gradient is
So
so cool.
yeah, last thing I'll tap into is
Yeah.
just the rotoscoping. So, as Photoshop, you end up putting in these images and you have to mask things out. But now in After Effects, the AI is much more powerful and we can actually just mask somebody out of the scene. So let's test this out and see what it looks like. Once again, make sure our comp is good. We are in it, composition. This one really doesn't matter. We can put it to like 24 frames. You got to make sure it matches the video as well that you're working in. Assets, pulled this visual here with somebody walking. So let's pop this in here. And what we're gonna do is mask her out of the scene. We can then do anything you want. Put her into a new scene, adjust the lighting, and you wouldn't even really be able to tell that it was a different background. The first thing you want to do is double click on the layer that you're working in. And we are going to draw on our subject here, okay? This is it here. Roto brush tool. Right beside the puppet tool we went over earlier, you want to click this. Make sure you have the first one selected. There's two options there. One second. Ooh, it's W, option W. So option W will allow you to swap it. This one here is the refine brush tool. You want to use this when you're going over like hair, really thin subjects or things that are moving that you can't really capture that much. And what we're going to do is just draw. We're going to draw right over the subject. Okay.
And is this something you have to be very precise about, or is it going to help assist you in kind of object masking it in a way?
I would say it depends on your approach with it.
Okay.
So you can be very precise, or you can just do something a little different like this. Depending on the subject, that's a
Okay.
great question. But if you have a simple subject, you just draw right over it. You see how it just selected everything? I
That's
didn't really
amazing.
overthink it. I just said, hey, let me just highlight here and it's gonna capture this section here. So even though I didn't capture the full frame, I still just drew in the section and the AI is able to pick up on it, the subject and everything. This is another thing here. Sometimes with the rotoscope, you might see this pop up that says frame rate mismatch. That means you need to match the composition with the frame rate of the video. So that's a big thing. And you also want to make sure that over here in your original composition, you're on full resolution so that when you're viewing it back, you can actually see what's happening.
We have a
So now what
question.
you want to do, if you
So
want to,
sorry.
yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say we have a question in chat, which maybe you can talk
Yeah,
about
let's
as
do
you
it.
go
I love it.
forward. Any tips for exporting a workflow and how you share finalized files with your client?
Depends on what the file is. So I would recommend, depending on what it is, you want to have just an HD version, simple for viewing, and then you want to package everything. So make sure you have, your vertical version, portrait version, wide version. Of course, this is dependent on the type of project you're working on. Figure out what your system is when it comes to cloud storage, put it in there as well, but make sure you always have a simple, viewable option that you can just share with the client in any way.
Great
Um,
advice.
quick thing here. So once again, when you see this pop up, you try the rotoscope, it's going to tell you exactly what the frame rate is for the video. This one here is 50 FPS. Boom, composition settings. We're going to go to 50 and now we're good to go.
Look at that. That's helpful.
Mhm. And then if you need to remove things from your roto, you're gonna hit Option. Now I have the minus sign, and then I could literally just draw and start to remove anything that's around her.
That's so nice. It's really
Yeah,
intuitive. I feel like kind of like Photoshop even, right? Where you can,
super intuitive. I even prefer using this sometimes. The reason why is because we actually have a moving subject, and
right?
it's impressive to see how this actually captures it. So I'm just going to do a rough take on this for you guys quick and then play it back. Another huge component when it comes to rotoscoping is the freeze button here. So this is how our rotoscope's looking currently. We would then tighten it up with the refine tool brush. But as you can see, she's literally outside of the background. We would then tighten it up and remove all of the extra stuff here, make it look very proper, and literally you could drop her into any scene after that.
That's so
But
cool.
yeah, I love it. Honestly, it's one of the flyest tools I've seen in a while. What you would do next with this freeze button, there's two ways to go about this. You either go here, and if you want to export her and also have the highest resolution without having to reload, and you say how we're rendering, and sometimes it could be slow depending on the system. You want to go to export, you can go here to Adobe Media Encoder or the render queue, and you want to export it as a lossless with alpha file. So it'll be a transparent background and it'll just be her. Once that's exported, you drop it back into the composition or the project, and you have a high resolution video of the person just moving. So you don't have to re-render or like have a very slow render time while you're working, just to help speed up the process. But typically you hit freeze, and then it'll start to generate like the cache for the subject that you just cut out. So it'll play it back, and then from there you can pretty much do whatever you want. Just that's about it. That's kind of what it looks like.
No, that's
So
perfect. Well,
yeah,
honestly, this is a great ending point for our stream. We are at time. Thank you so much for joining us and showing us all these workflows. I think it's super helpful. I know I personally learned a lot across After Effects and the like. So I really appreciate you jumping on today and sharing, yeah, your workflow with us. And chat, you've
thank
been
you so much.
wonderful. Thank you for asking your questions and being a part of the conversation as well. We always appreciate that you're here with us. We are going to take about an hour break. So if you need to go get lunch, do whatever, do that. And then come back at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Magdiel will be up with his show on the spot. And he's also teaching amazing things. So definitely don't want to miss that one. All right. Well, thank you again, Jordan. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy. We'll see you next time.